chosen one. That crushing pressure you have felt in your bank account for the last 90 days. That sudden anxiety when you look at your bills, or that strange emptiness you feel even when the paycheck hits. Do not suppress it. That is not inflation. That is not just a bad economy. That is a spiritual alarm sounding in your finances. God is waking you up because the contract for your current level of income has officially expired. The financial season that once fed you is now starving you. Not because the job is bad or because the business is failing on its own, but because you have outgrown the container. You are trying to find financial security in a place that has already signed your eviction papers. Right now, in your mind, I want you to visualize yourself standing at the door of your financial destiny. Do not look at the numbers. Look at the spirit behind the numbers. Are you looking forward at the wealth you are called to manage? Or are you looking back at the scarcity you are afraid to lose? The decision you make while listening to this message will determine if you stay in this cycle of debt and limitation, or if you finally break through into the overflow that has been prophesied over your life. God said move. But this time, He is not just telling you to move locations. He is telling you to move tax brackets. Let us decode exactly how the great wealth transfer is beginning in your life and why it starts with a crisis. You need to understand something very specific about what is happening to your money right now. This restriction you feel, this inability to save, this feeling that money leaves as fast as it comes in. This is not a curse. It is a relocation order. Think about the last time you walked into your workplace or looked at your business plan. Did it feel heavy? I am talking about a supernatural heaviness where the passion is gone, the grace is gone, and everything feels like a grind. You check the market, you check the strategy. Everything seems normal, but your spirit feels like it is suffocating under a glass ceiling. That is financial asphyxiation. The atmosphere in your current financial level has run out of oxygen for your destiny. Just as a baby must leave the womb when it runs out of room, your finances are screaming at you to birth something new because you are suffocating in a salary that used to satisfy you. If you feel this pressure, do not suffer in silence. Press the like button to signal you are awake, subscribe to align with this frequency, and type "I am ready to move" in the comments to sign your new contract. Let the transfer begin. And then there is the sleep pattern. Let's talk about the visions you have been having. You have been waking up with ideas. Multi-million-dollar ideas that seem crazy to your logical mind. You see yourself owning land, building empires, writing checks that clear instantly. But then you open your eyes, look at your current reality, and the panic hits. You feel like you are late for a destiny you haven't even started funding yet. This is the restless leg syndrome of the kingdom entrepreneur. Your potential is packed and standing by the door, waiting for your mindset to catch up. The panic you feel about money right now is not the fear of poverty. It is the terror of staying stagnant. It is your spirit realizing that if you manage your money the same way for one more year, you will miss the window of the transfer. Before we go deeper into the how, I need you to make a commitment to your own prosperity. Do not click away. This is not just a motivational speech about hustling harder. We are going to uncover the 7 anchors of poverty that the enemy is using right now to keep you stuck in the middle class or below. We are going to perform a financial ceiling activation to break the paralysis that has been holding your net worth down. You need the full protocol to survive this shift. You might be asking, am I just being greedy? Should I just be content with what I have? Listen to me closely. You are not greedy. You are experiencing kingdom expansion. Think about a seed. If a seed stays inside its shell because it wants to be safe, it dies. It must break open, push through the dirt, and become a tree to feed others. For years, you matched your financial environment. You matched the salary of your peers, the spending habits of your family, the limitations of your city. You were compatible with lack. But God has been doing a secret work in your stewardship. He has upgraded your capacity. He has changed your spiritual DNA to that of a king, not a slave. And now, the environment of lack is attacking you. The friction you feel with your boss, that is rejection. The sudden, unexpected expenses, that is the system trying to spit you out. The fact that your old saving methods don't work anymore, that is rejection. The financial system of your past is rejecting you because you are no longer compatible with poverty. There is a powerful principle that explains this. Arise and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you. When a financial source becomes polluted, meaning when it no longer serves God's purpose for your life, it becomes destructive. If you stay in a job God has told you to leave, if you keep depending on a client God has told you to release, it will not just make you broke, it will destroy you. It will bring a sore destruction to your mental health, your marriage, and your peace. God is not being cruel by drying up your funds. He is cutting the rope before it strangles you. He is making the nest full of thorns so that you are forced to fly into your own business, your own investments, your own dominion. You have been praying for a raise in a place God has judged as expired. You are trying to resurrect a dead income stream. Stop rebuking the struggle as an attack. It is the mercy of God. He is making you uncomfortable in poverty so that you do not settle there. He is disturbing your bank account to save your destiny. You might be thinking, okay, I understand the signs, I feel the shift, but why now? And where is the money going to come from? I assure you, chosen one, there is nothing random about this drought. You are walking in the footsteps of Elijah. You are currently holding the same encrypted map that was handed to every major figure in Scripture before a massive release of provision. Let's look at the most profound example of divine financial eviction. Elijah at the brook Cherith. God told Elijah to hide by the brook. It was a perfect arrangement. He had water, and ravens brought him bread and meat. It was a season of supernatural provision. It was safe. It was steady. It was a guaranteed paycheck. But then, it happened. And it happened after a while that the brook dried up. I want you to visualize this. Imagine you are Elijah. You have done everything right. You are tithing. You are working. You are faithful. But every day, the water level gets lower. The sales stop coming in. The clients stop calling. The overtime hours get cut. The flow becomes a trickle. And the trickle becomes mud. And then the ravens, the unexpected blessings, stop showing up. Your natural reaction is to panic. You cry out, God, why have you forsaken me? I am faithful. Why is the money not coming? Here is the revelation that shifts everything. The brook did not dry up because the economy crashed. The brook did not dry up because the devil attacked it. The brook dried up because God shut it off. God commanded the ravens to stop flying. Why? Because if the brook had stayed full, Elijah would have stayed there forever. He would have settled for survival instead of stepping into the massive miracle waiting at Zarephath. The drying of your income is not a punishment for your sin. It is the mechanism of your promotion. God is shifting the headquarters of your provision. The supply is no longer at the job you hate. The supply is no longer in the traditional savings account. The supply is moved to the new idea, the new investment, the new territory called Zarephath. You are trying to drink from a dry creek bed. You are praying for rain in a location where God has commanded a drought. You are asking God to bless a season He has already closed. God is saying, the grace is not coming back to this salary. The overflow is not coming back to this business model. I dried it up to make you thirsty enough to build the new thing. need to warn you about what happens if you refuse to move when the brook dries. I want to tell you about a man I mentored. Let's call him David. David was in a corporate position that paid well, but was destroying his soul. He knew God called him to launch a kingdom business. He felt the urge. He had the plans. But he looked at his mortgage and said, "Lord, I cannot move yet. I need 6 months of savings. I will stay, endure the toxicity, stack the cash, and then I will obey." It seemed like wisdom. It seemed like prudence, but it was delayed obedience. Month 1 passed. The environment got toxic. He held on for the money. Month 2 passed. His health declined. He held on for the money. 2 weeks before he planned to quit, the company went through a merger. He was laid off with 0 severance because of a loophole in the contract. He didn't just lose the steady income, he lost the capital he was trying to save. He ended up launching his business from a place of desperation instead of strength, forced out by the world because he refused to be walked out by God. That is the cost of staying at a dry brook. When you try to outsmart God's timing for the sake of financial security, you lose both the security and the timing. You do not want to be evicted by the market. You want to be led by the Spirit. When you move, when God says move, you walk out with the Israelites spoiling the Egyptians. You walk out with gold and silver, but if you wait until the walls fall, you crawl out of the rubble. Right now, in this moment, I want you to make a decision. Not a reckless move, but a spiritual one. Visualize the financial source you are holding on to out of fear. See it clearly. Now visualize a large red stamp coming down over it that says, "Expired." See the brook drying up. Stop trying to dig for water in the mud. Look up. Look toward the unknown. Tell yourself, the supply is there, not here, there. But be careful. The moment you make this decision, the very second your spirit agrees to step into the wealth transfer, you are going to trigger a security alarm in the enemy's camp. He knows that once you leave this place of limitation, you become a financier of the kingdom. He knows that money in your hands is dangerous to his agenda. So, he is not going to let you walk away quietly. You have now entered the most critical 72-hour window of your financial life. As soon as you finish this message and look at your bank account, the enemy is going to launch a coordinated counterattack to make you freeze. There are 7 specific anchors of poverty, 7 psychological and spiritual traps that he will deploy to chain you to the floor of scarcity. Most people snap the first chain, but the third one usually catches them. And the fourth one? The fourth one is so deceptive, it looks like a financial blessing. You need to know exactly what they are so you can step over them. The enemy does not waste ammunition on people who are destined to be poor. If you were meant to be broke, he wouldn't be attacking your mind so hard. But the second you decide to break the generational curse of poverty, you become a moving target. In the next 72 hours, as you process this eviction notice, the enemy is going to deploy the 7 anchors. I am going to expose the first 3 anchors right now. These are the loud ones, the aggressive ones. The first anchor is the anchor of financial panic. This is usually the very first weapon the enemy pulls because it works on 99% of people. You make the decision to trust God, to start the business, to sow the seed. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a bill arrives that you did not expect. The car breaks down. The tax authority sends a letter. Or a client cancels. A wave of terror washes over you. The enemy starts whispering directly into your ear. He says, "Look at the numbers. You cannot afford to move. You are delusional. If you take this risk, you will lose the house. You will be homeless. God wants you to be safe, not reckless." He uses the logic of scarcity to override the logic of faith. He wants you to believe that the source of your provision is the job you are leaving, not the God who is leading you. This is exactly what happened to the Israelites. They left Egypt. They were free. But when they saw the wilderness, they started hallucinating about the food in Egypt. They said, "We remember the fish, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions, and the garlic." Think about that. They were slaves. They were beaten. But the anchor of financial panic was so strong that they were willing to trade their freedom for a cucumber. The enemy is trying to sell you a cucumber right now. He is dangling a little bit of stability, a miserable paycheck, in exchange for your millions. So how do you break this anchor? You must realize that financial panic is a smokescreen. Right now, picture that fear, that bill, that bank balance, as a heavy iron chain wrapped around your ankle. Now visualize the hand of God holding a key. That key is your obedience. The moment you trust Him, the lock clicks. Tell yourself right now, my job is not my provider. The economy is not my provider. God is my provider, and He does not bounce checks. I refuse to sell my birthright for a paycheck. The second anchor is the anchor of emotional blackmail, the guilt of wealth. This is the most painful one, because it uses the people you love. The moment you decide to upgrade your financial standard, watch what happens to the people around you. Suddenly, someone needs money. Suddenly, family members who never called you start calling with emergencies. Or worse, they start making you feel guilty for wanting more. The enemy whispers to you through their voices. He says, "Who do you think you are? You think you're too good for us? Rich people are greedy. You're changing. You're abandoning your roots." This is designed to trigger your savior complex. It hooks into your guilt. You feel like a traitor for wanting to be wealthy when your family is struggling. But listen to me. That is not humility. That is a poverty mindset dressed up as virtue. If your financial growth requires you to stay small so others don't feel bad, that is a lie. You cannot save a drowning man if you let him pull you underwater. You cannot help the poor if you are one of them. God needs you to have resources so you can be a distribution center for the kingdom. The people who are trying to guilt-trip you into staying broke are not fighting for your holiness. They are fighting for the comfort of your stagnation. They are comfortable with you being at their level. Your rise exposes their laziness. In your spirit, cut the cord. Visualize an umbilical cord connecting you to the financial dysfunction of your family. It is draining your prosperity. Take the sword of the Spirit and sever it. You are not responsible for their choices. You are responsible for your stewardship. The third anchor is the anchor of identity crisis, the imposter syndrome. This anchor comes from inside your own head. You decide to step into the wealth transfer, and a voice says, "You are not a businessman. You are just an employee. Look at your credit score. Look at your past failures. You exposed the loud enemy the last time you tried to invest. What makes you think you can handle millions? You are a fraud. You are going to embarrass yourself." The enemy starts playing a highlight reel of your worst financial mistakes. The bad investment, the debt you accrued, the time you lost money. He wants you to identify with your history so that you cannot identify with your destiny. He knows that if he can make you feel small, you will keep your money small. He wants you to disqualify yourself, so he doesn't have to. But here is the secret to breaking this anchor. The enemy only attacks your identity when you are about to step into your authority. If you were truly a failure, he wouldn't need to remind you. The fact that he is working so hard to convince you that you are broke proves that you are about to become wealthy. The intensity of the accusation reveals the magnitude of the check coming your way. So when that voice says, "You are not enough," you reply, "You are right, I am not enough." but the God inside me owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. I am not moving by my resume. I am moving by His covenant. Take a deep breath right now. Feel the weight of that imposter syndrome lifting. You do not need to be a financial genius to start. You just need to be obedient. Now, listen closely. These three anchors, financial panic, guilt, and imposter syndrome, are just the beginning. The enemy has a fourth anchor, and this one is terrifying because it is silent. It does not come as an attack. It comes disguised as a blessing. It looks exactly like an answered prayer, but it is actually a golden handcuff designed to lock you in the middle class forever. It is the trap that catches the most talented people. It is the reason why so many people get stuck at a good income but never reach great wealth. You need to identify this immediately, or you will mistake a prison for a palace. Let us expose the silent killers. We have exposed the loud enemies. We have dealt with the panic, the guilt, and the imposter syndrome. But now we must descend deeper. We must enter the territory of the silent killers. These are the traps that do not look like traps. These are the chains that feel like silk. You need to sharpen your discernment right now, because what I am about to reveal is the reason why 90% of people who almost break through end up cycling back into poverty. The fourth anchor is the anchor of counterfeit peace. This is the most dangerous weapon in the enemy's arsenal because it targets your desire for relief. You have been in a storm. You have been fighting the urge to leave your job, battling the anxiety of starting your business, and wrestling with God. And then, the moment you decide to move, silence. Suddenly, the chaos stops. The boss who was tormenting you suddenly offers you a flexible schedule. The unexpected bills stop coming. The atmosphere in your current, limited financial season becomes strangely calm. You sleep better. The pressure lifts. And your brain, your survival brain, interprets this as a sign from God. You think, oh, look at this peace. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was just being emotional. God is healing this workplace. He is redeeming this situation. I should stay. Chosen one, hear me. That is not the peace of God. That is the peace of the graveyard. It is the stillness of death. The enemy knows he cannot stop you with war, so he is stopping you with comfort. He knows that friction creates movement. If he keeps making you miserable, you will eventually leave. So, he switches tactics. He removes the friction. He anesthetizes your ambition. He gives you a pillow in your prison cell. He induces a spiritual apathy where you just feel numb, compliant, and willing to settle for good enough. You start saying things like, well, at least the bills are paid. Or, it's not that bad, really. That is the voice of a sedative. You are falling asleep in the snow because you feel warm. But that warmth is the final stage of hypothermia before you freeze to death. You must recognize this trap immediately. If the peace makes you passive instead of powerful, it is a counterfeit. If the peace makes you put down your sword and stop building your empire, it is a trap. Real peace from God fuels your destiny. It does not suffocate your drive. Wake up. The sudden comfort is a bribe to keep you from the dominion waiting in your own harvest field. The fifth anchor is the anchor of the good option. This is the most sophisticated trap for high performers. The enemy knows you are leaving Egypt. He knows you have outgrown your current level. He cannot stop the momentum, so his goal shifts. If he cannot stop you from moving, he will make you move in the wrong direction. He will not send you a bad opportunity. He will send you a good opportunity. Here is the scenario. God tells you to launch a kingdom business. He gives you the vision. You decide to quit your job. The very next day, a headhunter calls you. They offer you a position at a rival company. It has a better title. It has a 20% salary increase. It has full benefits. It looks perfect. Your flesh screams, "Look at God. He provided. This is the open door." But deep in your spirit, there is a check, a hesitation. Why? Because that job is just a better version of your slavery. It is a golden handcuff. It is an Ishmael, a solution born of your own effort, and the world's system sent to distract you from Isaac, the promise of God that requires supernatural faith. The enemy wants you to settle for good so you never reach great. He wants you to take the detour that looks like a shortcut. He wants you to trade your ownership for a slightly higher salary. How do you distinguish between a God door and a trap door? You ask one question: does this opportunity require faith, or does it just offer safety? God's next move for your finances will almost always require terrifying faith. It will demand that you walk on water. The enemy's move will always appeal to your need for safety. If it feels too safe, if it makes total logical sense but requires no spiritual reliance, it is likely a trap. Do not trade your destiny for a corner office in a building you were meant to own. The sixth anchor is the anchor of isolation. The enemy wants you to feel crazy. He wants you to look around and see that nobody else in your family is thinking like this. Nobody else is talking about breaking generational curses. Nobody else is investing in assets they haven't seen yet. He whispers to you, look at them. They are happy. They are content with their 9 to 5. Why can't you be like them? You are the problem. You are the black sheep. You are just being difficult. He tries to use your loneliness to drive you back into the herd. He knows that humans are tribal creatures. We are terrified of being separated from the group. But you need to reframe this right now. Isolation is not a punishment. It is a dark room. It is a VIP section. God creates isolation to develop the blueprint of your wealth. He cannot give you the strategy for millions while you are constantly listening to the opinions of people who make thousands. He cannot download the operating system of a king while you are syncing with the software of a slave. He needs you alone. He needs to sever the noise. When you feel lonely in your financial vision, do not run back to the crowd. Embrace the quiet. The silence is where the strategy is downloaded. You are not alone. You are set apart. The eagle does not fly in a flock. It flies alone. The fact that you are alone is evidence that you are flying higher. The seventh anchor is the anchor of doubt. This is the oldest trick in the book, going all the way back to the garden. Did God really say? In the next 72 hours, there will be a moment, maybe at 3 a.m., where you wake up in a cold sweat. You will look at your dwindling savings account. You will look at the lack of immediate results. And the voice will come. Maybe I made this all up. Maybe I am just emotional. Maybe I'm having a midlife crisis. What if I move and the money isn't there? What if I fail and everyone laughs at me? This is spiritual gaslighting. The enemy is trying to make you question your own sanity so you will abort your mission. But listen to me closely. Doubt is not the absence of faith. Doubt is the evidence that your faith is threatening the enemy. If you were wrong, he wouldn't need to make you doubt. He would let you run off the cliff. The fact that he is working so hard to make you second-guess yourself proves that your first guess was right. Do not argue with the doubt. Do not try to reason with it. Go back to the first word God spoke. Anchor yourself to the initial instruction. The instruction hasn't changed just because your emotions have. The map hasn't changed just because it got dark. Keep walking. The wilderness test. Surviving the gap now. Chosen one. We have exposed all 7 anchors. We have cleared the minefield. But now, we must address the geography of the transition. We need to talk about the gap. This is the thing you fear most. You look at the door God is opening, and you see emptiness. You see a void. You see a lack of guaranteed income. You see the unknown. And the question that paralyzes you is simple. How will I survive if I let go of this supply before I hold the next one? It feels like you are a trapeze artist swinging high in the circus tent. You are holding on to the bar called current job or old business model. It is solid. It is holding your weight. God has swung the next bar towards you, the one called kingdom wealth. But here is the terrifying physics of faith. You cannot hold both bars at the same time. You cannot keep one foot in Egypt and one foot in the promised land. There is a moment, a terrifying, breath-snatching split second, where you must release the old bar before you catch the new one. And in that split second, you are holding nothing. You are floating in mid-air. You are suspended in the void. That is the emptiness you fear. You think that gap is where you die. You think that gap is where you starve. But I am here to prophesy to you. The gap is not where you die. The gap is where you become divine. God cannot fill your hands with the new thing until you empty them of the old thing. That financial uncertainty you feel coming, that is not abandonment. That is a vacuum. And in the laws of physics and the spirit, a vacuum demands to be filled. When you step out into the unknown, you create a demand on heaven that did not exist when you were safe. You force the hand of God to open. You trigger the manna. Manna never fell in Egypt because they had onions. Manna only falls in the wilderness where there is no natural source. You are trading the predictable salary of Pharaoh for the unlimited treasury of the king. Do not fear the void. The void is the canvas for your miracle. The 30-day prophetic forecast. I want to prepare you for what happens next. I don't want you to just survive the eviction. I want you to navigate the transition with precision. Once you make this decision, once you mentally and spiritually sign the papers to leave the land of lack, you are going to enter a 30-day transition zone. I am going to give you the spiritual weather forecast for the next month so you do not panic. Week 1 is the week of silence. This will surprise you. You expect that the moment you step out in faith, the phone will ring off the hook. You expect instant validation. But usually, the first week is deafeningly silent. The phone doesn't ring. The big contract doesn't land immediately. You sit in your new reality, and you hear nothing. The enemy will try to use this silence to scream at you. He will say, "See, you ruined your life for nothing." Do not listen. This silence is not abandonment. It is detox. God is letting the noise of your old season drain out of your ears so you can hear the new frequency. He is recalibrating your spiritual hearing. When the silence comes, do not fill it with noise. Do not panic call your old boss. Sit in it. The silence is holy. It is the deep breath before the plunge. Week 2 is the week of the pop quiz. The enemy sees you survive the silence, so now he tests your resolve. In week 2, expect a sudden opportunity to go back. Your old boss might call. An old client might reach out with a low-ball offer. A door you closed will suddenly crack open again, looking very inviting. This is not a blessing. This is a test. The universe is asking, are you serious? Did you really leave? Or are you just taking a break? If you engage with the old door in week 2, you reset the timeline. You must look at that opportunity and say, that is a beautiful grave, but I am not a corpse, and keep moving. Week 3 is the week of divine connection. This is when the shift happens. Once you pass the silence and the test, the new frequency begins to attract new signals. In week 3, pay attention to random encounters. You will meet someone, see a video, or read a book that speaks the exact language of your future financial destiny. It might seem small. It might just be a conversation in a coffee shop, but your spirit will leap. You will feel a resonance you haven't felt in years. This is the raven arriving at Zarephath. It is the beginning of the new supply chain. Capture these moments. Week 4 is the week of the flow. This is when the wind catches under your wings. You stop flapping frantically, and you start soaring. The anxiety begins to lift. You start to see the logic behind the move. Opportunities begin to align. You wake up not with dread, but with anticipation. You will look back at the job you were so afraid to leave and realize it was tiny. You will wonder why you stayed so long. The activation ceremony. Now, we have the knowledge. We have the forecast. But knowledge without action is just information. We need transformation. We need to seal this transaction in the courts of heaven. We are going to perform a spiritual packing audit and a release ritual. I want you to close your eyes. In your imagination, I want you to visualize yourself standing in a large open field. In front of you is a burning fire. You are carrying heavy, rotting bags on your back. These bags represent your old financial mindset. They represent the poverty trauma you have been carrying. If you bring these bags into your new season, you will contaminate the new soil. You cannot build a mansion on a foundation of fear. Let's look at the first bag. It is labeled the victim identity. Open it. Inside are all the excuses. The economy is bad. I wasn't born rich. They discriminated against me. My parents didn't teach me money. Yes, those things might be true facts, but they are not the truth of God. As long as you hold on to them, you are powerless. You are waiting for an apology that will never come. Take that bag. Feel the weight of it. Now, throw it into the fire. Watch it burn. Declare, I am not a victim. I am a victor. I create my economy. Look at the second bag. It is labeled the need for approval. Inside is your desire to be understood by your family, your need for your friends to agree with your investments, your fear of being judged as greedy or irresponsible. Throw it in the fire. Watch it turn to ash. You do not need their permission to be prosperous. You only need His command. Now, the final bag. It is labeled the loyalty to lack. This is the guilt you feel for surpassing your parents, the feeling that you are betraying your roots by becoming wealthy. Throw it in. You honor your parents by exceeding them, not by suffering like them. Break the ceiling so your children never have to touch it. The shake-off ritual now. There is one final piece of preparation. It is a specific micro-ritual that Jesus Himself commanded in Matthew 10:14. He told His disciples, "And whosoever shall not receive you, nor hear your words, when ye depart out of that house or city, shake off the dust of your feet." This was not a poetic suggestion. This was a spiritual hygiene protocol. In the ancient world, dust wasn't just dirt. It represented ownership. If you walked on someone's land, their dust, their essence, their legal rights clung to you. Jesus was saying, do not let the residue of the place that rejected you stick to your walk. Right now, without moving your physical body, I want you to focus all your attention on your feet. In your mind's eye, look down at your shoes. Do you see that gray, heavy dust covering them? That is the residue of the poverty mindset. That is the dust of the cubicle you hate. That is the dust of the arguments you had with your spouse about bills. That is the heavy energy of the environment that tried to suffocate you. If you bring that dust into your new season, you will contaminate the holy ground God is giving you. So in your spirit, I want you to stomp your feet. Right now. Do it. Once, twice, 3 times. Visualize that gray dust flying off your shoes. Watch it settle on the ground behind you. You are breaking the soul tie with the soil of your past. You are declaring, I take nothing from this place but the glory of God. I leave the debt. I leave the fear. I leave the limitation. Feel that? Your feet feel lighter. The spiritual static cling is gone. You are clean. The final prophetic decree now. Open your hands, palms facing up to receive. We are going to speak the activation. Use your voice. Your voice is the pen that writes the check. Say this: Father, in the name of Jesus, I stand before you right now. I acknowledge that the contract with lack has expired. I accept the divine eviction. I declare that I am moving from the Brook Cherith to the city of Zarephath. I bind the 7 anchors of poverty. I break the spirit of financial panic. I break the guilt of wealth. I shatter the imposter syndrome. I reject the counterfeit peace. I silence the voice of doubt. I declare that my job is not my source. You are my source. I command the flow of resources to shift in my favor. I call forth the hidden treasures of darkness and the riches stored in secret places. I am not a slave to debt. I am a lender to nations. I am not a victim of the economy. I am a creator of economies. I step into the gap with faith. I release the old bar. Catch me, Lord. The wealth transfer is not coming. It is here, and I am ready to receive it, manage it, and multiply it for your kingdom. It is done. The cycle is broken. The new era begins now. Take a deep breath. Inhale the freedom. Exhale the fear. Do not rush back to the noise. Sit in this silence for a moment. The transaction is complete. The shift has happened. You are no longer who you used to be. You are a kingdom financier. The contract is signed. The funds are released. Now, go build the empire. Seal this activation with a like. Subscribe to walk in this new authority and type, I am a kingdom financier in the comments to make it official.